So in the last video, we saw how to list the post and create the post. And in this video, we'll see how to update and delete the post from the uh, API as well as from the UI itself. Now we need to edit button. First, click add into the link button. So we'll add the edit button where this will send a put request, and this will be put request via the htmx. So we'll add this button as well to the list as well, which will list all the links, and we'll have the same button added over. will- So what this will do is it will send a put request to this API with this ID for the particular link, and it will target this division, that is the section, the division that we are currently uh, looking into, the button for that particular link, and then I'll swap the contents that will be coming from the API once the request is completed to the outer HTML. That is, it will replace the entire division, replace the entire like the partial that we have written in the link.html. So with that, we'll have the third case, which is case http dot method put. So it will trigger. So this case will be triggered when we send a put request from the htmx. And here we need to add edit HTML template, that is like we did for HTML for listing and link individual files. So we need to create this Go embed for edit.html as well. So what it will do is similar to what list and link did. We'll have all the contents of edit.html file into edit.html variable as a string. Now we'll create edit.html, which will contain the form that will be sent for actually editing the values in the HTML elements. So here, so let's start with the post and we'll see how we'll implement. So first, we'll get the ID where. So we need to know what link we are updating. So for that, we need to get the ID for that. So we'll use request.query string parameters and we'll get the ID from it. So that will be passed from the element in the HTML fragment itself. And then we need to have the form data as well. So what are we updating? It will be fetched from the form data via the form URL passed form data. So we'll pass the query. Likewise, we did for post request. So this will be giving a form data, which will be a key map of strings and an error. So we'll log this out. And then we check some validations here. So if the form data is empty, that is, it doesn't have any fields, and the link is a value, it is not empty. So in that case, we know that there is some uh, it is not our actual put request. We are just sending an request to load the form. That is, I have configured in a way that when we send a put request, we don't send the form data, and we just send it like a mimic to put request and to load the form in the first place, and then to send the post request in the actual form. So here we need to grab the link for that particular ID, and with that we use get link. So we get the ID from that, and we have added the edit HTML string manager and edit.html as the form in that. So here you can see we are sending a put request in the form itself, and so here if we go into the link as well. So we can see we are sending a put request to it. We are just sending a put request, but we don't have a body, and so hence there won't be a form data as such. So this will be empty. We just have the link that we are fetching from the request query parameters, and that is how we are kind of separating the actual put request from a put request to load the form. So we can use it like we can use get request to get load the form, but I've done it in this way. It could be either way. So that could be done with get request where we load the form and we can specify some action parameter with that. But I've kept it simple and so now what we need to do is we need to load that template with that edit form and with the values which are in that link for that URL and commentary values will be pre-filled with the actual values that are already there. So we need to load the edit template first as simple as similarly what we did for list and link templates. So that is how we get the edit templates and we execute the template with the link object. That is, we fetch the URL and the commentary for that. So that is how we will with the prefill the form values. And if that is not the case, that is the form data is not empty. So we'll just so here you can see that we are populating the commentary and URL values from the template rendering that we are doing. And here, if we will, if we have any other errors, we will just log those out. And the second one will return the HTML template with the content type as text HTML and the body as the template rendered string. And the last thing, that is the second condition, that is the actual put request, that is the form has been submitted. And now we will have the ID as usual, that is we will get it uh, from the query strings, query parameter strings. And so what we can do is we need to fetch that string and convert into integer. So we'll get it from the strcomp.atoi, we'll convert it into integer and we'll fetch that object and use that as, so we'll need to update this link. So here we are taking the update link parameters. So the parameters are URL and commentary only. So we will need to prefill the value. So form data dot get URL. So that is how we did it in the post request. That is the URL and the commentary. Likewise, we will do it over here because yeah, that is the thing that we will be updating. We won't be updating the ID because that is not even updatable. If both of them are empty, we don't allow that. So that is just one validation check that we're doing on the API side of things. Okay, so we cannot update the content or the URL as empty. And if the URL is not empty and the URL is not equal to that actual original URL, then we need to update this link.url and the object will be set at the ID and the commentary will be updated as well. So we now call the actual update link method, which is generated by SQL C, and we'll do the update URLs commentary, where URL and commentary are the placeholder values that we have fetched from the update query params. That is link object that we have created right now. And once that is done, we'll just fetch this updated link object again using the get link. That is, we have the ID already. So we'll just fetch that updated link object and return this as the actual object that was updated. So for that, we'll just do some validation checks again. And in the end, we'll respond with the request object and the link object. So this will just convert that into an HTML template that we wrote earlier. So that is how we do this edit template. So just let me create this edit template variable and that should be good. So now we have created this edit HTML template that will embed the HTML content from the file edit.html into this variable so that we can use to generate that response. So now let us commit the changes. So let's add the embed SQL changes. So we added the link, edit form, the link.html changes where we added the buttons and the actual the parameters that we updated for edit HTML. And the final thing is just the API changes that we made. and that should be it. So let's commit the changes. We added, updated edit fields, edit form for this. So let's push this origin, and now it should trigger the deploy. Let's wait for the build to complete, and that should be good to go. So once it is deployed, so you can see the status is still building. So let's wait for a while, and that should be up and running in a few seconds. So that is published, and now we can go over to the you can go to this edit, and you can see I have added a new block, nice block, edit, and let's see this, and you would see that edits has been added to this link. There is no delete button because we have removed it from the partial, and if we reload this, it will should be back. So if I try to edit some more things, so let's call it save, and that should be good. So let's now edit this testing. So let's edits here and save it. So that should be working as well. So now you would see that edit is working fine as well. So now we have the final component, which is the delete function. So to add the delete, we just need the last condition, which is http.method delete. And now let's add one more button, which will be delete, and trigger this button with the hx delete method, which will send that same API with the ID for that link, and it targets the link ID. That is, it will replace the outer HTML. That is, it will replace this entire division section with the content that will be sent from the API, which will be empty response because we need to remove this element. So we will replace this division with an empty response, empty string, really. So now let's look at the actual implementation on the API sides. So we first need to get the ID as usual for edit and delete. So we'll get a query string parameter, that is ID. So what we need to delete is fetched from this ID. So we'll need to get this ID, and now if that um, is empty, then we say that this is not valid because we need to have some ID to delete. And if there is no okay, that is there was some issue with passing this ID from the URL. So that case also the link ID was a little missing from the URL. So that will be some violations on the server side. And now we need to convert this ID into integer. So so the original ID will be string. So we need to convert this as usual. So string convert.atoi will convert it into integer. So now we'll just log this out if there's an error, and now queries.delete link, that is delete. This is the delete link generated from SQL. You can see the query that is delete from link where ID is placeholder value. So we need to call the ID. We need to pass the ID as the parameter to this function, and delete link will delete this record, this link from the database with that ID. So once that is deleted, we don't have any content to return. So that is why this will just execute it. So delete link will just execute and return error if there are any errors. So that is just what we are going to do. And with the final response, we are not going to do with respond because there is nothing to respond here. We just respond with HTML, but the body will be an empty string because we want to remove that content, and we have configured htmx or a template in such a way that this will swap out the content with an empty response, so that the entire division gets replaced with an empty string, and that content is removed from, it looks like it is removed from the UI. So that is how we will trigger this delete request. And yeah, that was it from this delete request as well. So hx delete was the two buttons that we added on the link as well as on the list page. So one thing that we need to do more is on the method dot get, that is we need to fetch the particular integer, like particular link from this request. So when we click on the individual posts from the links, we need to grab the particular link object from the database and render it into a separate division. So we need to replace the entire list into a single individual post that will be rendered out on the page. So that is what we need to do. We have already implemented it on the server side, but we just need to configure it in such a way that we are loading it properly. So if request.queryString parameters with an ID is not empty, that is, we are using some ID from to get using a get request. That means we are requesting a particular link to be rendered. So in that case, we will uh, grab that ID, and if there's error with that, we will just validate that, and we'll convert that integer, that string into integer using ATY. That is the usual thing that we do. And once that link ID is obtained, we can fetch that using getLink. So the link ID will be the parameter for this function, and link object will be fetched as a models.link structure. And once we have that, we'll just validate as well, and this will return with the respond message function with the request parameter and the link object. The link object is now models.link, so it will render the template accordingly. That is just a single individual post, and it will replace the entire list with that singular link fragment, or you can say partial. So this will replace the division with that individual link partial. So you can see here we are passing the ID as query parameter that will be fetched for that individual list. So that will be it from the changes for the delete request as well, and minor changes for the get request. So let's add the changes, and that should be good to go. Git add we embed SQL dot Netlify function that changes to the API, and let's comment these changes to add delete method and changes, and let's push it to GitHub, and that will deploy it. So right now you can see if I click the delete button, it won't delete anything, neither from the UI nor from the database. And once this is deployed, this will delete from both the UI as well as from the database. So it has triggered the deployment, and once it is building, we can look into that. And now it has started to upload. That is, the build is complete. So let us test out the changes now. So that is getting deployed. That is completed. Now let us do the changes end to end. So let me add a new link. So let's grab this link, which was the motivation for this link block. So let's say a recognition for creating link block back. So let's edit this. So now we can see this is able to edit back in 2025. Save, and it should be saved. For some reason it's not getting saved. Let me do it from there. So let's edit this post, and let's say in 2025 and save it, and you would see it is working fine over here. And now let's click delete, and you would see that it is deleted from the UI as well as from the database. If we reload this page, this should be as it is, because now that post is deleted from the database as well. So that is how it works from the basic CRUD application. So we saw how we loaded the static files and templates and served the HTTP requests using the Netlify cloud functions, which triggered a database request with a SQL queries that we generated from SQL C, and it fetched back the rows, and using those rows we were able to construct the HTML response back. So that was sent, and using HTMX we were able to swap out the uh, like necessary pieces from the UI, and that is how we are able to make this application dynamic using HTMX without writing JavaScript. So now if you see in the functions, here we have API. This is a standalone API, we can see. And if you go into this API, we are right now getting HTML response on the application. But if you see with the API, we are also getting JSON responses, because this is a simple HTTP request and not a HTMX request. So that is how we created this HTTP request is true. That is the parameter that we added header from the headers for the request. So that is how we will be able to separate the HTML REST APIs from the JSON APIs here. So that is how we are able to separate the HX request from the JSON response over here. So that is how we are able to do this. And uh, on the further applications, we will try to authenticate. This is just a basic example with just CRUD functionalities, but we'll try to add it some authentication layer on top of this. So hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.